Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment, so we have none other than Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. Welcome to episode 683 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. Talking about 683, we're close to counting down to show 700. We'll see how that goes. Since we're talking about counting down, it is that time of the year where we get ready for the football season, where toe meets leather. And you know the rest of the jargon. But we're going to release our top 21 polls for major and mid-major division. We'll start today with major division, looking at 15 to 21. So we'll do a countdown for that as well. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, with my co-hosts, Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, I should say, Mr. Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring the gentleman in. As we're doing that, we have Drew representing Hillman College as well as North Carolina A&M. Which one undergrad and which one is graduate school?
I'm going to leave that for y'all to figure out which one is real and which one is fake.
For sure. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THD Agency. THD Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, let me jump on here and ask Charles Bishop, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. I know I wanted to get things started off. I definitely want to send a shout out to Coach Prime in terms of his recovery. Huge press conference yesterday in regards to detailing his diagnosis with bladder cancer and having his complete bladder removed. But he's on the road to recovery now. And shout out to Neely. They did a tremendous job of covering his press conference, as well as some details from Coach Prime's camp in terms of people who knew was very, very small. And Neely was part of that group that knew exactly what was going on. So shout out to him, because a lot of times, you can break news, but he showed himself to be a confidant, a friend of Coach Prime. So definitely want to shout my guys out over there.
I'm glad you took the time to do that. Always appropriate to talk about folks moving forward. One of the things I noticed in the discourse is the fact that a lot of it wasn't about him per se, even though he made the announcement. It was about his players, talking about opportunities and preaching to others about, the value of the life we have, and also trying to make other folks feel good about the situations that they may in, prayerfully as he is. So make sure you continue your health, Coach Prime. As they say, get well. Seems like you're in a much better place, but continue health. Yeah. And prayers for you. To a guy, Coach Prime, one that I obviously watched him as a player, celebrated his accolades and things that he accomplished at Florida State, and more so, obviously, as Atlanta Falcon, and certainly when he came in as an adversary at San Francisco 49ers as at that time I was a Cowboys fan, and how he flipped the world for me when he came to the Dallas Cowboys, and still represents that very well, including a Super Bowl ring, making it 3 and 4 years for the Cowboys. And he was the reason there might have been 3 in a row. But at some point, we still got the 3. For Cowboys fans like yourself, Charles, though, it's been a long term, but that's a whole nother discussion. We'll leave that alone for those folks that can poke at you. That's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a different type of Cowboy fan now. I retired but NFL, if you would. But with that being said, but getting back to the point, I certainly wanted to make sure we acknowledge Coach Prime. All that he's done for so many people.
Yeah, I mean, to get an opportunity to work with him and kind of see him up close and to see his attention to detail, his work ethic, that hit a little home yesterday. So I definitely want to, send my shout outs to him in terms of, man, get well, brother. I really appreciate everything that you brought to the forefront. And, people, I think the big thing that came out of the press conference is him encouraging people to go to your doctor, go get checked up.
Go get checked.
That was huge, because they only found it because he was doing a routine checkup. So.
Yeah, particularly with men. We even know so more with Black men specifically. Our concerns and adversarial role oftentimes we're going to get checkups with the doctors. We know historically why, but it's to a point now that it's much better you do that than not, because there's a chance that things can happen where you can be in a much better position if you do it now versus if you wait and don't do it at all. With that being said, let me go to Drew, North Carolina A&M, if you would. Mountain Lions.
Yeah, and Steve's getting together the details for the homecoming against VUL. We'll talk about that later in the show. But going back to your Coach Prime.
Yes, please.
Thing that got me out of everything was when he talked about having to make it out a will. And first of all, Black folk, let's not be afraid to go ahead and handle that, because sooner or later we're going to have to do that.
Correct.
But when you have to sit down, doing it in these circumstances where you are facing, if that surgery doesn't go well, or if they get in there and they find out more than what they were looking for when they get in there, that's a reality. So handle your business, people, please. That was one thing that stuck out with me as far as what he was talking about, going through his triumph, having to go through and make out the will. And you talk about getting checked out, Dr. Cavil.
Yes.
That also includes your mental health. We can't pray on everything, everybody. Nothing wrong with prayer. I'm not saying that. But sometimes you need more than prayer. You need professional counseling. You need professional help with some of the trials and tribulations that you go through. So I want to take it one step further. In addition to the physical health that Charles was talking about, make sure you're checking your mental health also. And a player who I love to hate as a baseball player passed away yesterday, that being Ryan Sandberg, Chicago Cubs, Philadelphia Phillies. And me growing up as a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and anybody who grew up as a St. Louis Cardinals fan back in the 80s understands why I love to hate Ryan Sandberg. Respect the hell out of him as a ball player. But when he had those blue pinstripes on, could not stand him. The one memory I have on him is what they call the Bruce Sutter game, where Bruce Sutter gave up the tie home run in the ninth inning, and then gave up the go-ahead home run in extra innings for them to lose the game at Wrigley Field. So
I remember that game.
I do too. Might have been watching it on WGN.
Right, exactly.
So I just hate, but you hate to see when people go so soon in his early 60s there. So just another one going too fast from us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well said as well. With that being said, when you talk about the will, that also means to update it. because I do have the wheel, but it's been a while. It needs to be updated. So to your point, also for those that have gotten the wheel, remember over a period of time, you do need to review it and make sure it's updated for whatever reasons, because things change in your life.
And make sure them life insurance payments are taken care of also.
That's right.
Because nothing worse than somebody passing and the insurance is lapsed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Charles, with that, let's get back on some other things. Let's get back into the HBCU world of things. Sounds like the SWAC has some big news. What's on the table?
Big news coming out of the SWAC as the SWAC announced a partnership with Victory Snacks. Victory Snacks, a leader of high-quality, in-demand, private label snacks and beverage innovation, has partnered with the SWAC to expand their snack and beverage portfolio with exclusively designed packaging featuring the individual name, image, and likeness of all 12 of the league's historically Black colleges and universities. The revenue generated through the alliance will directly benefit the individual schools' institutional NIL initiatives. The strategic collaboration empowers each member of the SWAC conference with its portfolio of branded snacks and beverages, offering fans, students, and alumni a unique way to show school pride while directly supporting student athletes through a new NIL-driven shared revenue program. So kudos to the SWAC in terms of partnering with Victory Snacks with regards to this huge announcement today.
You have some JSU, the Jackson State University potato chips.
Got to get some. Yes, indeed.
Hey, would that mean an upgrade of the snacks in the concession stands at the football games?
Well, it's not gonna hurt to see your branded school in the concession stand. So that's a good thing there. I like that.
Oh, for sure.
You know, Sudeco may have something to say about that. Some of those Sudeco contracts.
Point well taken. Point well taken. And that don't mean you can't sell it outside of the stadium. Going back to you, Drew. What are some other things you want to look at?
You know, I'm gonna save the A&M saga for you, Dr. Cavil. I'm gonna stick with my conference. The SIAC announced released their ESPN schedule, 23 games on the ESPN platforms over the 11th week regular season, and the conference championship game on the 15th. 2 games on linear ESPN. Both of those will be on the U, with the Tuskegee game in the Red Tails Classic against Winston-Salem State. Shout out to the Fighting Sea Gaithers in that game. And also the Fort Valley State versus Clark Atlanta game will also be on the U, and that game is on September 11th. For those who actually care, Morehouse is featured on the schedule twice. One of them is the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic in Montgomery on October 4th. And our homecoming against Lane on October 18th will also be on Plus. So you can go to thesiac.com and see if your favorite SIAC institution will be appearing and when.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let me end this segment on the North Carolina A&M, the Mountain Lions. I just had lost it with Stephen Gaither, who while Brian and AD were doing their show on Sunday, and the discussion came up amongst some of the other things that they were discussing that were really pretty good. But when I saw this logo for Stephen Gaither, I was like, I got to have it. I have to have it. So the lighter side of things is we started off on a serious note. Obviously, people by now that follow HBCU sports certainly know about Cam Newton's, and I thought he was really bringing some great attention. But as in his excitement in naming some of the names, he had a little bit of a gaffe, as Stephen Gaither calls it, in terms of an HBCU name, North Carolina A&M or NCAA. So you can go to HBCU Game Day and look it up. HBCU football reimages the story of North Carolina A&M is hilarious. Talking about it's nestled in the serena peaks of Black Mountain, North Carolina. A&M University is a small but proud HBCU with roots stretching back to the late 19th century. Established football in 1909, but quickly ended less than 10 years later in 1918 when they had some legacy games with University of Lynchburg, Coachella College. If you get a chance, go read that. It is entertaining in so many different ways, but don't be mad if I sit out here and you see me with a North Carolina A&M shirt on this football season. You know where it's coming from. Shout out Stephen Gaither. We're going to have to partner on this project. I see some financial ways we may be able to make some NIL money with this, Stephen Gaither. So let's talk when you get a chance. But in all seriousness, at a time when so many things are so serious, sometimes you got to find a way to laugh at some things. And so this is the way to do it. North Carolina A&M homecoming opponent will be BUL as they're bringing back football. I tell you, it should be fascinating. With that being said, we'll take home and home has not been finalized. That's the word of the day. We'll take our first break, come back on the other side, and it's time to unveil preseason top 21 teams, both from the major division and mid-major division. We'll start with the major division today. We'll look at the top 7 teams, 21 through 15 to be exact. We'll see what Charles and Drew have to say. We'll take a couple of segments over this, and we'll come right back after the first break and get into it and let you know who is the bottom of the bottom. See if you agree with it or will things change. We'll see what that looks like. We'll be right back after this first break.
There's a shot.
That
Right.
might be.
It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. And all you guys at BCSN, we really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is Ryan Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACTalents.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. Want to get prepared and get into this bottom 7 of the 21 through 15. I'm going to start off with the top 4, and you'll see some connections between the two. Between these 4 teams, there were 5 wins last year. So I'm not sure if you'll get in any concern about these teams. I would like to see if you think any of them are going to finish outside of the bottom four, if you would. But more importantly, I want to ask you some questions about wins. But let's start things off when we look at this top 7. Let's get in here with number 21, which is none other than Delaware State. They have a new coach this year. We were at the media today, talked to Coach Jackson. He certainly thinks that they're going to do much better than this. But we shall see. Quarterback coming in, as he lost a quarterback early, but he looks like he has a good one coming in. So we'll see what that means for him. But last year they finished just with one win. They were 1-11, 0-5 in the conference race in 2024. They have 23 points in terms of the calculation this year with the data that was put in. So they start off at the bottom. There's nowhere but up to go. With that being said, let's go to number 20. That is Delaware State out of the SWAC. Now we go into the MEAC. That was Delaware State out of the MEAC. Now we go into the SWAC, I should say, with Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. They also got one win last year. They were 1-11. That win was a huge win in terms that it was a conference win as well. So they went 1-7 in the conference race. On the road, they got it done against Florida A&M Rattlers. That was in 2024. They come up still at the bottom with 24 points as they look to do it again. Bringing us to number 19. Number 19 is North Carolina A&T Aggies. They finished 1-11, 0-8 last year. Did not get a conference win. That's 2 years in a row, 29 points. So you see between these three teams, each of them have one win. Let's go ahead and go to 18 before we get into some discussion on these 4. The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, with just 2 wins last year, they had a tough loss, if you would, to Division II program. That was Clark Atlanta, when I told everybody at the beginning of the season about Clark Atlanta, but we'll see what they look like on Thursday when we do 21. Probably won't hear about them until a couple of weeks down the line because they won't be in that bottom 7. But with that being said, Bethune-Cookman is 2-2. They did get 2 of their wins in conference play. They were 2-6. So they finished actually better than Mississippi Valley State in terms of getting their wins. They have 50 points. This is why I want to ask you about these teams. You can throw out if you think somebody's going to be finished out of this. But 5 wins between these 4 teams. Do you see 7 wins in combination between these teams? This is my first question to you all. And as you ask that, I also want to tell me your thoughts in regards to whether any of these teams will have more than 3 wins on the season. Starting with you, Charles.
I knew we were coming to me first.
Well, do you want Drew to bump for you? You want me to
So let me make sure I'm gonna get this right. The question was, can all 4 of these teams thus far, can they get to 7 wins?
Yeah, collectively, when you look at the end of the year between these 4 teams, when we add it up, will they collectively get to 7 wins?
They will collectively get to 7 wins. Yes, I do believe so.
So any of them will be over 3 wins.
If I had to hedge my bets over 3 wins, I don't have a problem going with Delaware State.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Delaware State can get to 3 wins, I feel comfortable with your projection of them getting to 7.
Mm-hmm.
You're averaging saying that each of these teams will get to 2 wins.
Absolutely.
7, so you're comfortable with that.
I feel good with that.
Interesting.
I think I preface everything. Like I said, last year was such a unicorn of a year when you saw so many quarterbacks go down. The thing that I look at this year is just the health of teams. If you can keep your quarterback upright for about the first 3-4 weeks, and that's what gives me pause to think that you can have these teams do a little bit better than they did last year. I mean, I'm sitting here kind of taking a look at Bethune-Cookman, and I know they kind of flip-flop quarterbacks. You got a new quarterback coming in there to Delaware State. I was kind of encouraged by T-Buck and talking about some of the things that he was going to bring into Mississippi Valley State. And it kind of goes against your natural, really? But it's like, okay, I'm sold as of SWAC Media Day. So
Hope springs eternal.
Hope springs eternal. Yeah.
Charles is rationalized. Do you agree with his rationalization, or are you going in a different direction?
I don't have enough time to pull up all the schedules, so I have to ask your question with the question. Answer your question with the question.
That's fine.
Do you mean 7 wins or 7 wins against FCS opponents? Because if I could pull up the schedules and count how many D2s and AIAs on these schedules, there might be a path to get to those 7. But if you say 7 against FCS opponents, it's gonna be tough.
Each of these teams have at least one D2 on the schedule.
Right. Well, you saw how that worked out for Bethune-Cookman last year, didn't we?
Exactly, and almost worked out for A&T as well.
We did.
Yeah. So
Valley needed to play a D2.
Yeah. I mean, can it happen? Yes. Will I run to Vegas and say it will happen? No. and if you look at some of the comments in the chat room, Dr. Cavil, it's kind of mixed there, you know. Delaware State lower than A&T.
So all but Bethune-Cookman had 2 FCS wins. They were conference. Valley had the 1. So you have 3 FCS wins thus far. Will any of these teams get the 3 FCS wins?
I'll make a bold prediction. None of the wins that those teams got last year, they will get against the same teams this year. I'll say that. They may get to the same number, but they won't beat the same opponent.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
That's my prediction.
And they have the same schedule as last year in terms of conference. They just flip whether they're going on the road. Charles, 3 wins, 3 FCS wins. Any of these teams will get 3 FCS wins. I think you kind of put that out there with Delaware State. You stick with Delaware State. Can Bethune-Cookman get the 3 wins? They had 2. They're right there.
You know, yeah, Bethune-Cookman can get the 3 wins. I remember the game that I called against with Bethune-Cookman and Texas Southern. They had their opportunities. Right. Yeah, they had their opportunities in that game that they didn't capitalize on, and then they allowed Texas Southern to kind of let that running game get up and going. So yeah, I think Bethune-Cookman is a team that is poised for a potential breakout, but it's going to be tough.
Believe that these teams are not going to finish at the bottom, and it seems like you all are pretty comfortable with that too. Let's take our next break and come back on the other side and look at 17 to 15. This is where I think some people are going to really lose their mind. But I'm like, as we get into next week, I want to hear who you're pulling out. I think you'll get a lot of crying this year, but I like to say who people think are going to finish above them. As you're already talking about pushing these teams up. Now, you know the rule is, if you're talking about a team shouldn't be there, who are you putting in its place? But that, take our break and come back on the other side.
History? Yeah, we built that. Pride? We fuel that. And on August 30th, we run that. 2 powerhouse HBCUs, Howard Bison, FAMU Rattlers, one legendary showdown under the Miami lights at Hard Rock Stadium. The energy unmatched. The culture undeniable. The vibes straight HBCU. 2025 Invesco QQQ Orange Blossom Classic. Get your tickets and book your hotel now at orangeblossomclassic.com. Saturday, August 30th at 4 p.m. in Miami Gardens.
HBCU football fans, the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff is celebrating 20 years this August. From Birmingham to Orlando to campus sites and now in Atlanta. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff has been a mainstay in HBCU athletics. 2 decades of providing a national platform on ESPN and now ABC for the finest HBCU programs in the country and some of the most talented players and coaches that have represented them. DeForest Jackson, Tariq Cohen, Javon Hargrave, Darius Leonard, Rod Broadway, Buddy Pugh, all have left their mark on this storied event. This year, we celebrate by welcoming North Carolina Central and Southern to Atlanta, which has cemented its place as the HBCU football capital. Every team who participates in this event looks to start and finish their season in the A by gaining a spot in the Cricket Celebration Bowl. That, however, is earned by becoming conference champions. And it starts right here in week 0. MEAC versus SWAC. The rivalry is real. Thank you for the last 20 years of support. The story never ends.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and AD Drew. As we get back into it, let's review quickly. 21 was Delaware State. At 20 is Mississippi Valley State. At 19 is North Carolina A&T Aggies. And number 18 is the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. We have 2 teams at the bottom out of the SWAC, one out of the MEAC and one independent, finishing at the bottom here. Let's get into the next 3. At number 17, you have Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. They were 3-9 last season, 2-6 in conference race for the 2024 season. At number 16, Grambling State Tigers. They have struggled over the last couple of years, coaching changes, and still hadn't quite got it right. They were 5-7 last year, but just 2-6 in the conference race. So did pretty well non-conference wise, but conference was not too kind to them. They did get the big win over Jackson State, which kind of launched Jackson State in a season that soon will not be forgotten for the Jackson State Tigers, that is. And number 15, you have Norfolk State Spartans, 4-8, 2-3, 2024, with 93 points, as Grambling has 76, Pine Bluff has 53. So, cumulative, 2 of the bottom programs have the NFL coaches. Actually, 3 of those have the NFL coaches that have come in, taken over program. You have several of these programs that have new coaches in the mix here, 4 out of the 7. With that being said, going to you first, Drew, since Charles thinks I pick on him all the time. Drew, what are your thoughts as we close up with these next 3 in terms of finishing up this bottom 7 of the top 21 teams? That's number 21 to 15.
I'm looking at this, and I hope this is going to change, Dr. Cavil. But thus far, in your top 7, top 21, whatever, however we want to classify this, my brother, you have went chalk. We have, I mean, if we look at where these teams finished last year, if you were to have took your poll out all 21,
right?
This is probably where everybody finished at last year.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with this, Dr. Cavil and Charles,
pretty right.
In this day and time, with so much movement, everything fluid, it is really hard to tell, because I'm going to say this, Dr. Cavil.
That's a good point.
One of these teams is going to finish the year in the top 7.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't tell you which one.
Wow.
But one of them will. And one of your teams in the top 7 is going to replace them on this list. They're not going to go to the middle. They're going to be on this list.
Yeah.
Who will that be? I don't know. Because let's think about it. 2 years ago, Grambling would have finished in your top 7. Last year, they finished in your bottom 7. Perfect example. So, I don't know who it is, Dr. Cavil, because I don't know nothing about these teams, because you don't know who's on half these rosters, because they haven't been put online yet. And even if you did know the rosters, you don't know how they're going to
it's a complete guessing game.
Because, hey, remember when Alabama A&M about 3 years ago had all them transfers on defense, and how did that do for Connell, man?
Yeah, tough out.
Transfer.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it right there, Dr. Cavil. I wish I could give you more to pontificate about, but bruh, I can't. That's my best thing. Somebody is not gonna be on this list at the end of the year in this position.
I think you actually gave us quite a bit to pontificate when you talk about going from the bottom 7 to the top 7. I can certainly think shifting up a quadrant, if you would, but all the way up, I thought it's fascinating when you think about that. Charles, I want to get your thoughts on that as you just want to push the envelope.
Yeah, to me, if there's a team that can make a push into the top 7, it's Grambling. And I look at it from this standpoint. We always talk about looking at the schedule.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, you're going to have some neutral site games. Prairie View, neutral site game. Jackson State, neutral site game in Vegas. But, in the Bayou. But when you take a look at the teams coming into Grambling this upcoming season, you got to think Grambling will be favored against Langston. We'll start off there. Be favored against Kentucky State. You have Texas Southern coming into Grambling this upcoming season. So, depends on, what Grambling looks like around that time of the season. Pine Bluff on the road. But then you get the neutral site game with Jackson State. And then Alabama A&M comes to Grambling. So, if you can protect home, you're going to be in decent shape. And, it's a coin flip. It's a toss-up when you talk about the neutral site games. But we've seen some Donnybrook games with regards to Grambling and Prairie View. We saw Grambling knock off Jackson State last year at Grambling. So there's not going to be, quote-unquote, the fear factor of dealing with Jackson State on a neutral site game in Las Vegas. So I could very easily see Grambling being that team that makes that sort of, here they come.
I don't see it, but I said that last year. And I was right. But Sneakerhead Head talks about Tennessee State.
You know my theory. They don't stay down for long.
Y'all amazing. Y'all, if fandom is fandom, I guess. But, fascinating talk when you talk about one of these things. And I think both of y'all kind of went into this and says Grambling is your team that you see moving, taking the quantum leap, going in the top 7.
And I get
do you see any of these other teams being able to shift into the next 7?
I got my own PTSD dealing with Grambling. So what was the question again?
Yeah, you're right. Great point. I'll stand correct. I'll stand point made. Are there any of these other teams that you see shifting at least into the next quad at the end of the season? Which one or two teams that you say maybe not in the top 7, but I see them shifting pretty solidly in terms of the next 7, 14 through 8?
I think it's too early to tell, and to me, it's nowhere to go but up when you're talking about looking at Delaware State and just the sort of the new attitude. The other teams you've kind of seen, what they've done, even with renewed energy and things of that nature. So you're kind of dealing with the unknown when you're talking about Norfolk State and Delaware State in terms of them at least getting into that middle quadrant.
True. Going back to you, Drew, as we begin to close up this segment, I want to ask you, which one of these teams are you shifting into at least the next quadrant? Which one or two you said will not finish at the bottom 7?
Where Norfolk has the easiest move to make because they only need to move up one spot to get to the next quadrant or the next third. So we'll start off with that one. But it's hard to pick a MEAC team because of their non-conference schedule. So if I think anybody can do it, it's going to be a SWAC team. And if I'm going to pick somebody in the SWAC to do it, because I've already said Grambling has a good chance to get to that first group, I have to go with somebody out of the SWAC West, which means I got to go with UAPB because I just still think that the East is too tough. I think Bethune's going to make a move, but the East is just too tough with Alabama State, FAMU, and Jackson State to have to climb. Arkansas Pine Bluff has a little bit of a, for lack of a better word, easier road. Not saying that the West is any easier, but if I had to measure the two divisions, I'm gonna say the East is tougher than the West. So I got to go with the West team with the opportunity to move up against the Western competition.
I give y'all a lot of credit. Y'all have made my day. I was surprised that you all would have this much pushback. So I'm fascinated when we get to next week to look at the next 7. So that means you're going to have a lot of those teams dropping down. Maybe 1 or 2 will float up to the 7. But based on that conversation, I'm going to remind you next week too now that you're going to look at this next 7. You're going to have to tell me which couple of these teams are going to fall out of that top 7. And I'm interested in that discussion. You talking about a tease, we got a weak tease because Thursday we jump to the mid-major. I don't know if there'll be a lot of discussion there. We'll probably be able to push through that. But with that being said, Johnny Thompson is always putting out there. Thanks for the super chat there, $2 there. Appreciate you showing us some love. With that being said, let me point this out. He has number 4 at Tennessee State. Let's go back to that. And he has tied for 3rd, 3-way tie. FAMU, Southern, and North Carolina Central. And number 2 is South Carolina State and at Jackson State at number 1. So I don't know. He has 3 teams at 3. So you got to drop off Tennessee State in terms of that for your top 5. But we'll let you make it. That's your rankings there. I'll be interested to see. So y'all going to have to clip that and remind Johnny when we come back to our final 7 to see if those teams are the teams. Go back to Edwin. He had, what was his bottom 21? Let's see where he's at. 21 is A&T. So he has A&T lower. I think last year had A&T at 21. He's dropped them even worse. New coach.
Damn, Sean Gibbs can't get them going?
Yeah. Valley has 20. We're on the same page there. He has Delaware State 19, so he sees them finishing up a little further. Last year they were 21, I believe it was. GSU, he has it 18, so not too far off. He actually has them doing worse this year. His Pine Bluff is 17. We're on the same page there. He has Bethune-Cookman at 16, a little higher than what I had. No problem. Still in the range. Norfolk State is 15. But for the most part, he's in alignment at least with these 7. So he sees these 7 as the bottom 7, unlike you all, gentlemen. So I want to give a shout out to Johnny because he's on it. He's on it. G-Boom, Johnny, you can't have 3 at number 3 and then have 4. I told you. Let's take a last break, come back on the other side. We're going to talk a little bit about the business side of sports. We talked about the FCS a couple of weeks ago going to 12 games. We have a shift. This was off the Division II level. Division II Management Council supports proposal for 5 seasons of competition. So I want to see what these gentlemen think. When we look at this, Charles and Drew, I want you to also first talk about obviously what it means for HBCUs at Division II level. But one of the questions out there, and I'm not sure we got an answer on it yet. Well, the way it was worded, it sounded like maybe this is just for Division II players to start there. But will this also include FCS or FBS players, or even NAIA players for that matter, that transfer into a Division II, will they be regarded as eligible or get their fifth season, or is this just for Division II players that start there and stay there? With that, we'll be right back on the other side. We'll get into a little discussion. We'll pass it to Drew to kind of break down his thoughts overall first. Then we'll get into a little question. Charles and I will get a chance to kind of switch chairs with Drew and pepper him thinking about that component. And then I'll give you some business perspectives on it. With that, let's take our last break and come back on the other side for this Division II discussion on 5 years of competition, 5 years of eligibility, essentially. We'll be right back after this last break.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACchallenge.com.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. Of North Carolina A&M. That just with his Hillman shirt on. Boy, I tell you, that is certainly appropriate at a time like this. With that being said, let's get back into the business of this and get into the real discussion. Let me frame this, and then I'll let Drew jump in here and kind of do what he does as a specialist at the Division II level, particularly regarding HBCU. He also dibbles and dabs in the NIA space as well. Make sure I give him his full credit in terms of his professorship inside the lab. The NCAA Division II Management Council is proposing a change that would allow student athletes to compete in 5 seasons, a competition over a 10-semester period, Charles, aligning with potential changes in Division I, addressing graduation rates, for example. The proposal, which is scheduled for a vote at the 2026 NCAA Convention, would effectively extend the current 4-season limit to 5. For a little bit of details, the current D2 rule limits student athletes to 4 seasons of competition within a 10-semester period. The proposed change, succinctly, The proposal would allow student athletes to participate in 5 seasons of competition within the same 10-semester window. That's where Drew was talking about essentially eliminating the red shirt, because you still have to do it within 10 semesters. Rationale, which people often want to know, the rationale, at least what we're hearing, is the proposal aims to modernize eligibility rules, potentially reduce the need for waivers, and better reflect the realities of student athletes' experiences, including graduation times and the impact of COVID-19, according to the NCAA. Even though we're 5 years removed from COVID, we know how that was dealt with at the Division I level with the additional years of eligibility. And some people now see that necessarily wasn't a bad thing. But there's always pros and cons. So, Drew, kind of give your open monologue in terms of your thoughts, and then we can get into some further discussion as we get into our last segment here.
One thing you left off, I think, is important, Dr. Cavil.
Please share.
And this may kind of answer the question that you asked going into the break. It specifies that any competition, regardless of timing, counts as a season of competition unless a student athlete is transferring from a non-Division II school and does not use a season according to the non-Division II school, or is a Division III transfer who is charged a season of participation for practice only under Division III legislation. So what that means to me, and maybe I'm reading too much in it, you can't play 4 years at a D1 and then transfer down to get a year.
That's all. That was my question.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I read it.
Yep.
I may be wrong, but that's the way that I read that, because this is all that I have right now. We haven't had anything else come out on this, and they're voting on this August 6th, so we'll know how this turns out next week. But I think this may be a little bit of a market correction because of what has happened to our high school athletes. Because let's be real, the portal is here to stay. Coaches are going to get older, more experienced players out of the portal. And now at the Division II level, this allows the Division II to go get those. The 5 stars are going to the big boys. We know that. But those 4s and 3s and those marginal players can spend a season or two at a Division II, and if they realize they can't go up, they can stay there at their Division II for 5 years, get their degree paid for, and still have their shot at going and making some money, or where it be overseas or even still in the professional ranks. But also, good, they still go up. They do what they do, because if they're that good, they go up for that 1 year, and then they go, quote unquote, make themselves draft eligible in whatever sport that they do. So this just kind of slows down the process, gives a little bit more time. What I would love to see is how we can intertwine the junior college process into this 5-year window, so that you could potentially do 2 years of junior college and 3 years at the Division II level, and still get your seasoning, get your degree. Because anybody who has dealt with junior college athletes transferring to a 4-year school, get the scissors out, because they getting ready to cut up your transcript, because you're coming in with 72, 73 credits, and by the time you get done with admissions, you're going to have 48.
That's about right.
Let me ask this question. Does this markedly change up the recruiting strategy for the Division II coach?
We kind of talked about it in passing this week, because I got this on Friday. So when I was in the office on Monday, it would have been yesterday, we kind of talked about it, and it allows you've had that senior who been a role player on your team, has been great in the community, done everything, but we know he's not going on to the next level. But he's good at what he does with your team. He's an excellent run blocker. He's a rebounding machine. He's a utility player in baseball. This allows you to actually take care of that kid and make sure he gets out of there. If he doesn't get out of there with the masters, he's out of there on the road to getting his masters. Or for some of those kids, this also allows you. We know things happen with these athletes, and sometimes they have to drop classes just on whatever. This allows them to still have that opportunity to get out and at least get that undergrad degree within that time frame. Because I don't know about you, Charles. There was a couple semesters where I had to get rid of some classes before they came and asked me. Because I'll take it again before I let you flag.
Understood.
Good points. Let me follow up with this. I want to know specifically your thoughts, Drew, in terms of how this may uniquely affect HBCUs, either positively or negatively, or you may see it both ways.
Well, I think it could be a positive. Gives us an opportunity to keep some of these kids within our own family. Now, the one thing that I like about this is at the Division II level. So you may see some people transferring from a non-HBCU at the Division II level and transferring into an HBCU to get that experience at an HBCU. And now you also don't have that pressure to play right away because you get that extra gear. So you get stuck behind that Division I transfer. Okay, let me go in here. Let me get let me get a little bit more seasoning. Now I get an opportunity to still play that next year. So I think it can't do anything but help out our coaches, help out the recruiting, and you get to keep those character kids around. Because if you're a knucklehead, we're gonna get rid of you anyway. But you get to keep some of those character kids. And this is another way that we can get our teams older, which it seems like all of these coaches want to do is to get their teams older. Gives you an opportunity to get your man body, because an 18-year-old body is definitely different than a 22-year-old body, male or female. So, I think it can be a positive if approached right by these coaches and administrators. Now, here's the one thing. Got to be careful, though, because there's nothing in here that says anything about roster limits or scholarship limits at the Division II level. We've seen what they did at the Division I. So could this be a negative side effect? Because it may potentially take a spot or two away from some incoming kids. Time will tell.
Well, that's the reason why I asked. Does it change the recruiting strategy much in terms of, the structure of this new ruling? So
yeah, and I think there might be something.
From that perspective, when you look at it from a business perspective, in terms of increased roster sizes for private institutions, that can significantly raise prices. The other thing that I'm excited for students with this opportunity, particularly those that come in relatively academically strong or can find a way to push forward, you literally now have the chance for those programs that have graduate programs. You're starting to see a lot more of these Division II programs add, particularly from the HBCU perspective.
Yeah,
private institutions that are moving from colleges to university, which means they're adding graduate programs. This means you literally can move out of your institution with both a undergraduate and graduate degree, a bachelor's and master's, which is significantly as you get into the marketplace.
Yeah.
For those students that see that as important, that are kind of on the borderline, this is a significant opportunity to really look at Division IIs from that perspective. Talk to your coaches in terms of what opportunities you have there.
Yeah.
So those smaller programs will be interesting financially, how they work through that. as you increase those roster sizes? How does this change the dynamics of recruiting, not in terms of having an opportunity to really look at those high school, which you see at the FCS, particularly at the FBS level, other than, as you said, the 4 or 5 stars, those 2 stars, certainly 1 stars, maybe even some 3s here and there. As you kind of push back, you don't necessarily, the high school students get recruited. It's going to be interesting to see what that dynamic looks like for those players where you have more opportunity to play for a longer period of time. So I'm fascinating from that perspective as well. Again, this will be voted on in January 2026 at the NCAA convention. Any final thought that you want to put out there, Drew? And then I'll come to you, Charles, for any final thoughts that you may want to share on this or just other business areas that has captured your mind before we close. Go ahead, Drew.
It did say the executive board will review the recommendations for convention proposals at its August 6th meeting. So we'll find out next week if this moves on to that vote that you're talking about in January, Dr. Cavil.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing, it's likely to move on. A lot of discussion, but good to make sure that you put in the point that we'll hear some more news about this before the final vote is likely to take place. Any other news that you want to get out there, Drew? Final thought that you want to share before we close it up?
No, not on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and there were a couple other things that are on the menu for next week, but I'd rather wait until they make their recommendations before I comment on those.
Nice. With that, Charles?
I mean, I'm looking forward to camps have opened, so you start getting, some names associated with these rosters in terms of who's doing what in camp. So it sort of builds anticipation to MEAC SWAC Challenge, August 23rd. Looking forward to getting out there. And, I know Southern and North Carolina Central are going at it. They got pads on. So it's going to be fun to kind of get some interesting news out of both of those camps heading into the season.
Yeah, keep up. You'll be looking forward to make sure people stay healthy.
Yeah.
One of the things you're looking at, make sure any nicks and bruises, you'll get some of those, but hopefully no major injuries. Coaches have done a pretty good job of making sure they hit, but at the same time, we want to protect. And I will go back to you, Drew, just 1 second. Also it'll be interesting. Folks will start looking at who is going to be behind the center. That quarterback position, as we talked about, is so important. You start figuring out who is the number one. A lot of people want to know that. Obviously, you have some folks going in the camp that are projected as number one. A couple of them solidified. But a lot of places you have a question in terms of who's going to be the quarterback. So we should start hearing a little bit about what the movement on that is like. And then there's some places where you're also talking about some key running backs. Who is going to be the feature running back? So that's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, the hands guys, the receivers, they should do their things. The one last thing I'll point in there is some of those late admits. And we start hearing some names of last-minute transfers or some folks that transferred in that you didn't hear about. All of a sudden, their names are getting loose. Obviously, we just talked about Prairie View shaking up where they got a 3-star that running back that a lot of people are excited about. So you'll start seeing a little bit more of that as well. So fascinating to kind of see that these camps getting going. The pads get to popping a little bit before we get these 2-a-days and things of that nature, folks getting on campus, along with a shout out to soccer on the women's side, as well as volleyball. Those old ladies come in there, and then Charles would be mad if I got out of here and did say this. That also means that you have the band and the drill coming on campus as they start doing their campus. Walking down the Tiger Walk in the morning, I see furiously Ocean of Soul getting prepared as they're getting ready, and you don with the white shirts. Make sure everybody's clear out there. No hazing. Make sure that you're doing the right thing on that side of things. As a professor, I'd be remiss if I didn't make sure you understood that. But you do still have the freshman orientation with the white shirts. You got to earn it. You know what that looks like. Drew,
I did miss these couple things. Baseball, they're talking about increasing from 50 to 52 games on the Division II level. That ought to make Charles feel good, the baseball guy that he is. Softball's looking at increasing to 56 games.
Interesting.
and 4 days of competition. So those are your fall ball games, fall ball competition, 4 games, and one that I started the show talk about this one, but it's ironic that I'm finding this one at the end of the show. The council approved extending mental health hardship waiver for the 25-26 academic year to better support student athletes who have asserted that mental health concerns were the reason they competed limitedly.
Yep, really good. Good information in terms of our news segment there to give you some thoughts in terms of the business of sports, as we like to talk about. This one we're talking about from a collegiate perspective, specific at the Division II, giving them some love. The mid-major level, we'll take a deeper dive on the Division II and see those 7 teams that are going to be struggling out of the bottom. See if we get the same discussion. Do they have a team that they see will jump out of that bottom 7, or will they say, nope, I'm fine with this the last 7 on the mid-major side? We'll see what that looks like on Thursday. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Today we had a special visit, if you would, from A.D. Drew, giving us some love and running the mode ship. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Mills Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. It's about that time where we'll start coming back on Sundays at 9 after we get into past Labor Day Classic. We'll give you some additional love after the football season and give you what took place on Saturday. So that should be fun. Get ready for the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff. Charles and I will be in Atlanta, so we'll get a chance to catch up with Drew. So we'll be able to give you an update of what that looks like as we get a chance to see the magic between the SWAC and the MEAC get it down. So looking forward to that. We look forward next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattacavil. That's Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. Again, that's DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Drew.
Lecture.
Dismiss.
Have a light.
Big news.